Have you ever been told, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all? It's one of those phrases we hear from childhood, a basic rule for getting along with others. But is it really that simple? Is this old saying just about being polite, or is there a much deeper wisdom hidden inside? Today, we're going to unpack this classic piece of advice and discover how it can be a powerful tool for not just for social harmony. Stick around, because you might find that it doesn't mean what you think it means. On the surface, the message seems pretty straightforward. Don't be a jerk. It's a reminder to curb our impulse to gossip about others, to make cruel criticisms just to feel superior, or to tell those hurtful just kidding jokes that aren't really jokes at all. It even applies to constant complaining, which just drags everyone's energy down. At this level, it's a social lubricant. It helps us avoid unnecessary conflict and maintain a peaceful environment. It's the foundation of basic manners. We've all been there, right? Can you think of a time when someone's words, maybe spoken because they were technically true, still caused a lot of unnecessary pain? That sting is exactly what this saying, on its surface, tries to help us avoid. But let's go deeper. This saying isn't really about silencing yourself. It's about cultivating three incredibly powerful inner qualities. The first is mindfulness thinking before you speak, the pause between a thought popping into your head and the words leaving your mouth. That tiny gap is where your power lies. This saying invites us to use that pause. There's a simple test you can use. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If what you're about to say doesn't pass all three, the saying suggests that silence is often the wiser, more powerful choice. This isn't about hiding the truth. It's about consciously choosing whether your words are going to be constructive or destructive. The second quality is empathy. Before you speak, the saying calls on us to step into the other person's shoes for just a moment. How will my words actually land on them? What might they be going through today that I don't know about? Empathy shifts our perspective from a reactive, I have to say this, to a more thoughtful, should I say this? And if I should, how can I say it in the best possible way? It moves us from a place of judgment to a place of connection, which is a game changer in any relationship. And the third, and perhaps most empowering quality, is personal power. This saying places the responsibility squarely on you. It reminds you that you are not a puppet, controlled by every negative thought or impulse that drifts through your mind. You have the choice, the power, to not give voice to negativity. Choosing your words carefully, or choosing silence, isn't a sign of weakness. It's a profound sign of emotional maturity and self-control. You are the master of your speech, not the other way around. Now, this is where things get really interesting, because this saying is widely misunderstood. Many people push back against it, and for good reasons, if you only take it at face value. Let's clear up some of the biggest misunderstandings. The first one is, does this mean I have to be fake and suppress my true feelings? Not at all. This isn't about suppression. It's about discernment. You can absolutely acknowledge a negative feeling or a critical thought inside yourself without spraying it all over someone else. The goal is to process that feeling and then find a constructive outlet or a respectful way to communicate, not to pretend the feeling doesn't exist. It's the difference between venting destructively and communicating purposefully. The second, and most valid critique, is this: does this rule prevent honest feedback and necessary criticism? This is a big one. The saying is absolutely not a free pass to avoid difficult but necessary conversations. Sometimes, the nice thing to say and the right thing to do are two very different things. The key here is understanding the difference between destructive and constructive criticism. Destructive criticism attacks the person. This is terrible. You're so lazy. It's designed to tear down. Constructive criticism, on the other hand, addresses the behavior or the work with a genuine intent to help. For example, I see what you were going for here. I think the argument could be even stronger if we revisited the structure. Can we talk about it? Giving someone feedback that helps them grow is, in the long run, one of the kindest things you can do. And finally, misunderstanding number 3. Does this mean I should stay silent in the face of injustice? Absolutely, unequivocally. No, this saying is about interpersonal communication, the day-to-day interactions we have with friends, family, and colleagues. It was never meant to be a rule for confronting bullying, corruption, or systemic wrongs. Speaking truth to power is not nice. It is courageous, it is necessary, and it is essential for a healthy society. Don't ever let this phrase be used to silence you when your voice is needed to stand up for what's right. So, what do you do in that tricky situation where you have to say something that is purely nice but is definitely necessary? You need a framework. A great one is called the feedback sandwich. It's a simple and effective way to deliver constructive criticism kindly. You start with something positive, the top bun. This should be a genuine compliment or affirmation. Something like, "I really appreciate how much effort you've clearly put into this report." Then you deliver the core feedback, the meat of the sandwich. This is the necessary criticism. Be specific and focus on the issue, not the person. For instance, I noticed the data in section 3 seems a bit off. I think we might need to revisit the sources to make sure our argument is as solid as possible. Finally, you end with encouragement, a bottom bun. Reaffirm your confidence and point towards a positive outcome. I know you can get this sorted out. Let me know if you need any help. I'm confident the final version is going to be great. This method allows you to be both honest and kind, fulfilling the deeper spirit of the saying. Given how complex our world is, maybe the old saying needs a slight update for modern times. We could rephrase it like this: if your words are not kind nor necessary, be silent. If your words are not kind but are necessary, speak with compassion and purpose. This version acknowledges that some things must be said, even if they're difficult to hear. But it reminds us that our default setting should always be mindful kindness. So, in the end, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Is not a simple call for superficial politeness or silence. It is a profound call for wisdom. It's an invitation to become the master of your words, instead of letting your words master you. It's about choosing consciously to use your voice to build up, to connect, and to heal rather than to tear down, to separate, and to hurt. The next time you feel a negative or critical comment rising to your lips, just pause. In that brief moment, you hold immense power. Choosy wisely. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please give this video a like and subscribe for more content that helps us navigate life with a little more wisdom. See you next time.